started to dream about the Olympic Games ever since I can remember, really. Even when I was doing gymnastics in my back garden, I was imagining that I was in an Olympic stadium with a crowd around me. The media always titles the athlete's journey as they've been training for 4 years leading up to the Olympic Games, but actually you were training way longer than that. I've been training for the Olympic Games since I was 6 years old. I had a full-time job beside my schoolwork. I really wouldn't have had it any other way. So I started my senior career in 2017, 1 year earlier than I could have started. I was 17 at the time, and this entire year of 2017 was just all about getting experience. That's what my coach Luke told me, that's what the people around me were telling me, just to kind of take everything in when I went on these journeys to these huge international competitions. It was just incredible to be surrounded by these world-class, amazing gymnasts that I've looked up to for so many years. I was now one of them. Of course, as well as gaining that experience, I gained a couple of medals too. Still, one of the most important medals in my career was when I won that World Cup medal in 2017 in Croatia. That was a kind of moment where I was competing against my idols and then also realizing that I can beat them, and I was beating them. I started to believe that I could be the best in the world. It then came to the World Championships in Montreal that year, and I started to feel a huge pain in my right wrist on the lead up to that competition. I think if it was up to Luke, he would have pulled me out of that competition. We did pull out of the parallel bars, but we done pommel horse anyway. I got through the routine and I was super happy that I just got through that routine because I really wasn't making any routines during practice. We came out of the World Championships placing 14th in the world, but I knew I could do better. When we got home from Montreal, I got a scan of my wrist and I had 3 stress fractures. Well, with 2017 behind us, we got that year of experience out of the way, and now 2018 we're coming for them medals. I was still training all around at the time, so we were putting in the work on all 6 of the apparatus. We wanted to come back from that wrist injury with vengeance. We knew what we were capable of when I wasn't injured, so we looked after my body especially well and tackled the Commonwealth Games, which is one of the first competitions of 2018. Qualified in 2nd position behind Max Whitlock, the current Olympic champion. I was the underdog in that competition by all means, but myself and Luke knew that I could actually win that competition, and I think we were the only 2 people that thought I could. We waited for the scores to come in. Max done his routine. On this occasion, I won. What really got the emotions going was when I looked up into the stands and just saw my mum and dad cheering their lungs out for me. I could just see the pride in their face. All of them hours of me training as a young gymnast had paid off. All of the work that they put in, all of the work that I put in. It was all worth it in that moment. It's a moment that I'll remember until the day I die. We returned back to training. Although, as time progressed on, things started to get a bit shaky in the gym I was at. It was a very toxic environment and I was shielded from a lot of it from my coaches because I was preparing for these big competitions and they didn't want to distract me in any way. But unfortunately, one day I came into the gym and my coach Luke said, "This will be your last day at this gymnastics club." They pushed high performance out of that gymnastics club, and we never returned. In the end, I was actually banned from the premises because we were abruptly told to not come back to the gym. I was essentially left with no place to train. This is 2 weeks out of a World Cup that I was going to attend. I didn't want to let any training days go to waste, so I brought out an old pommel horse that my dad had built me for when I was younger doing gymnastics, and started training in my back garden. Two weeks later, I went to the Turkey World Cup. I took home a gold medal. That was a big moment for me. It's proved to myself that I didn't need that club, and I didn't need to be around that toxic environment anymore. Myself and my coach Luke, we knew that we were an unstoppable force. Fortunately, news got around, and Sport Ireland and Gymnastics Ireland provided accommodation for us to stay at in Dublin so we could train at the National Centre. So for the foreseeable future, we would be relocated to Dublin, and I still am to this day. We had to put all of that negativity behind us and move on to the future, and the future for that year was the European Championships. I qualified in first position for the pommel horse final. I'd done my routine exactly how I planned to do it, and came home as a European champion. People started to take notice now. About 3 weeks out of the World Championships, I started to feel like my shoulder wasn't performing right. It was a very strange feeling. There was no pain with it. There was no discomfort other than my shoulder just wasn't functioning right. It seemed that all strength had left my shoulder. I couldn't externally rotate a 1 kilogram dumbbell off the floor with my left arm. This is when we knew that something was very wrong with my shoulder. I literally don't think I even got through one routine on that entire competition build up. It's such a difficult thing to present to the judges and perform at the World Championships knowing that you haven't done a single routine. Myself and Luke had discussed just not competing at all, preserving my body, but I thought to myself, if there's no pain, I'm not going to make the injury worse or anything, so we competed anyway. I tried to fire myself up for this routine. I tried to psych myself up and get as much energy going to my shoulder as possible, but it just buckled on me mid-routine, and that was the end of my World Championships. It was so heartbreaking because I knew that I could have came home from that World Championships with the gold medal. When we got back from World Championships, we had that time to take a closer look at the shoulder, talk with my physios and doctors, and then get the scans required to see my shoulder how it really is. My labrum was torn, and that was then leaking fluid from the joint and blocking off nerves, which is stopping the signal reaching my muscles. We decided the best course of action was to get it repaired and fix up the shoulder. I got surgery at the end of November, and the rehab process began then. We decided to actually use this negative situation as a positive and almost recreate my gymnastics. We thought, well, since we're starting from the basics, we're going to perfect those basics. Our motto for redefining my gymnastics like that was be undeniable. So coming back into competition, my first one back was a World Cup in China, and the nerves were there, the negative thoughts of, will I be able to perform the same? Will I be able to do gymnastics the same? It actually made me very nervous for that competition. World Cup in Slovenia, I scored a personal best of 15.45, and that was a big statement for me to make. It was a big statement because it was telling everybody that I was coming for that world title. World Championships wasn't only about the medals at World Championships, it was also about qualifying to the Olympic Games. And the scary thing about our sport is that you only get one shot, really. It literally all came down to that moment. If I fell off, that was it. Fortunately, I pulled it off on that day, becoming the first Irish gymnast to ever make a World Championships final. I waited in my hotel room for all of the other scores to come in, because that would determine whether or not I earned myself an Olympic spot or I needed to fight for it in the finals. I remember I was sitting in the hotel room just refreshing the page of scores coming in until that very last score came in, and I knew that I would be going to the Olympic Games. Went outside and called my mum straight away, and just the tears just came flooding out. I tried to get out, I'm going to the Olympic Games, but it gave out, I'm going, and then just burst into tears. Ah, man. It's these incredible moments that makes me love this sport so much, and makes me love this journey that I've been on. When I found out, I couldn't stop thinking about all of the hours on end that I'd sacrificed for this sport. All of the days that I found incredibly difficult in training that I just pushed through because I wanted to make it to that Olympic Games. I knew I'd qualified to the Olympic Games. I knew I'd made the Palma Horse final, but I still needed to compete in the Palma Horse final, and I wasn't going to be happy with just leaving as a finalist. I had to rely on the many numbers I'd done in training of these routines, and I'd done so many routines, and to very, very nice standard. The first Irishman in a World Championships final, I had to make it count.
Our first ever final for an Irish gymnast at the World Championships. Rhys McClenaghan, the Commonwealth champion, second strongest in qualifying.
I showed everybody what I was working on in terms of my execution, and it was just a standout routine. I absolutely nailed it. I was now not only Ireland's first ever finalist, I was Ireland's first ever World Championship medalist.
To keep calling Rhys McClenaghan a history maker seems repetitive, but it's true.
Did you think you had it? I thought you had it.
It was the right score for me. So 2020 had begun. We started off our year by going to Japan for a training camp in preparation for the Tokyo Olympic Games. This was one of the best experiences of my gymnastics career. We were training at the Japanese National Center in Tokyo. We had no expectations of this. Training alongside us was the greatest gymnast of all time, Kohei Uchimura. I think it's the equivalent of a young footballer training with Ronaldo or Messi. I brought in a couple of Irish t-shirts for Kohei and his coach Hiro, just to say thank you for welcoming us to their gym and their city. Just saw Kohei walking over to his bag and holding up a Japanese t-shirt. Oh no, there's no way he's going to give me that. There's no way he's going to give me that. He walked over to me, approached me and said, here you go, here's my t-shirt. And I don't think you hug very often in Japan, but I just gave the man a big hug and just said thank you for everything. Of course then, when we came back from Japan, the unexpected happened.
Coronavirus.
COVID-19.
Coronavirus outbreak.
In the last few years, Japan has asked for the Olympic Games to be postponed for a year.
About one day of isolation went by, and my dad and I just decided, let's build an extra room onto the side of the house so that we can put the pommel horse in there. We spent day 2 of isolation building this 12-foot cube onto the side of our house in our back garden so that I could just about fit my pommel horse in there. eventually got back into the gym in Dublin, but the problem with that was that there was still no competitions being listed, and if there was any official competitions happening, we weren't getting sent to them. We had to just pretend. We held pretend European Championships in the gym, and this was a real test of my character, really. You were essentially training for nothing, so we done routine after routine after routine, and then competed in front of a couple of Irish judges that were kind enough to come into the gym and help us out with our pretend European Championships. It was me versus me. 2021 came around, and this was meant to be the year of the Olympic Games. We finally got a competition date, and it was the European Championships. Training was going incredibly well on the lead up to these European Championships. I don't think I failed one routine in practice out of the many routines I performed. It was the day before we left for European Championships. I was doing a conditioning exercise and just felt a crack in my wrist. I couldn't move my wrist after that. It was in a lot of pain. We wanted to get a competition in before the Olympic Games, so in my head pulling out of that wasn't really an option, because it would have meant that I had 2 years out of competition and then all of a sudden competed at the Olympic Games. I got through qualifications and qualified in first, then it came to finals and I fluffed it up. I thought the pain would have went away when I competed as well, because you have that adrenaline rush, and it just didn't leave my thoughts. I was just thinking about my wrist being sore that entire pommel horse routine. But we did need to stay positive for the Olympic Games, so I kind of almost put that European Championships down as an experience, just another competition to get used to competing again. The next competition was the Olympic Games. It was finally here, the moment that I've been waiting for my entire life. It was time to become an Olympian. Everything was pretty surreal about the Olympic experience. To me, it was a dream come true, all of it. On qualification day, it was my time to show everybody I belonged here. By initiating that routine, I was immediately an Olympian. I'd done a good routine, not my best, but still a good routine, and landed the dismount. My immediate thoughts were, I'm at the Olympic Games. I just performed a routine at the Olympic Games. Got off the podium, gave my coach a huge hug, and then the score came up. With that score, I knew I'd made an Olympic Games final. One of my proudest moments of that entire Olympic Games experience was the day before my pommel horse final. I'd done a routine in training very well, and I just thought to myself, that's it. That's my preparation. The hard work is done. Because I knew that I'd done everything, absolutely everything I could to prepare for that Olympic Games final. It was the day of the final. I warmed up like any other training session. I got prepared for my routine like any other training session. I wasn't as nervous as I thought I would be throughout all these years. I imagined myself at this Olympic Games final. I was chilled, I was prepared, and I took confidence in my preparations, and that's why I feel like I was confident going into that Olympic Games final. I started my routine, first skill went fine, then picked up into my second skill, and my finger just got caught in the handle. That was enough to knock me off the pommel horse, lose my rhythm, lose my grip on the handle, and I fell in the Olympic Games final. I walked over to my coach to ask him what I should do next. He looked me in my eyes and just said, perform the skill again and finish that routine in style. I saw in his eyes that he believed in me, that I could go through that routine no problem. That's sport. That's what makes it exciting to watch. You wouldn't watch sport if everybody performed perfectly. If there was no falls in gymnastics, you wouldn't watch it to see that excitement. I was heartbroken. I felt that disappointment. I wanted to turn that disappointment into a fire under my feet and really motivate me in training to push even further and continue this incredible journey that I've had so far. I've got my major medals here, a World Championship medal, European Championship medal, Commonwealth Games medal, and there's just one missing from the collection. I felt like that Tokyo Olympic Games was a little bit of a teaser. It gave me a feel of what the Olympic Games was like. It made me the first ever Irish Olympic finalist, and I know that that Olympic medal is still to come. My first Olympic cycle was the best years of my life so far. Now it's time to make that next Olympic cycle even better years of my life. Now let's get back to work.